Welcome back to the Untouchaballs podcast. Caden and Leo here. Caden, how you doing today?
I'm doing great today, Max. What about you?
Well, I've had better days, but it's going to get a lot better now that we are recording back together, Caden.
Yes, sir.
We have some good football to talk about for this upcoming weekend. Let's touch briefly. Patriots had a pretty big upset last week.
Yes,
a lot
they
of
did.
momentum going into this next week.
Yeah, last week Patriots blew the door. We're able to beat a Bengals team that were favored by 8.5, 2 scores. Everyone thought they were easy win, easiest game of the week
That's
were the
true.
Bengals.
True.
Patriots came
lot of money was
ran
on
the
Bengals.
ball down their throats, and were able to come through with big defensive stops, come through with a nice 16-10 win.
Yep, and Denver Broncos, of course, my team, unfortunately, were not able to come away with a win. Rookie Bo Nix struggled, kind of what you expect on a road in a loud environment. We talked, Caden, before that game, mentioning that he just needs to prove that he should be the starter going into next year, and this is kind of a developmental year for the Broncos.
Oh, for sure, yeah. That first game, you could tell, first NFL road game. Like,
Yes.
the noise was getting to us. He didn't look great out there. Like,
He didn't.
fair. But I do think Bo Nix is still a pretty good quarterback.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting to see him at home this week against a good Steelers defense.
Which we will talk about in just a little bit, but before we get there, Caden, last night, Buffalo Bills dominant on the road in a victory over the Miami Dolphins. And, of course, we all know the major headline from that game, Tua Tagovailoa diagnosed with yet another concussion after a scary hit. Caden, take us into that.
Yeah, I mean, prayers up for Tua. Hope he's good all up in there. Don't need him getting messed up there. But also, like, that was a good hit by DeMar. He made a good play.
A good play.
It was a good thing. There was no flag. Like, it was a clean play.
Yeah,
so it just happened
it was a regular football.
It was a regular football. Just sucks that happened to Tua again.
Yeah, I mean, fourth down play, down 3 touchdowns at that point, 21. I mean, they had enough time to start a comeback.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we've seen bigger, but realistically, I think that game was done at that point.
Realistically, yes.
I would say that game was done from that point on, and for him just making an effort play like that to get hurt really sucks.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, now there's been a lot of questions about his retirement, which we won't get too much into. I think out of respect for that situation. But we did have to highlight that. Kevin, what do you think about the Bills' performance, though, outside of that?
I thought the Bills played a really good football game. James Cook looked great in that first half.
Yes.
Was able to get the 3 touchdowns. I had him one first touchdown score and 2+ tutties.
Guy.
And had him on my fantasy team against this boy this week.
This guy. It's all right, because I have Saquon Barkley.
But the Bills look good. The Dolphins, even with Tua, didn't look great against the Bills. Tua didn't look that good. The Bills' defense was feasting on him, able to turn him over easily. The Bills looked like a far superior team last night.
Definitely, and if you look historically, the Bills have dominated this matchup of recently. And I even thought that, the Dolphins being at home early in the season, September is still going to be hot. I thought they would have some advantages, but that proved not a factor.
Not a factor at all, really, yeah.
Definitely not. Well, Caden, continuing into starting off with Sunday morning's slate of football games, what do you got for us?
So, Sunday morning we got my Patriots at home for the first time this year against the Seattle Seahawks for the first time since when Cam Newton was at quarterback. So, going into this game, the Seahawks, coming off their win over the
Denver.
Broncos, are a 3-point favorite. I think this is a great game here for the Patriots. I think if they can play defense like they did last week against the Bengals, cause pressure, get into Geno Smith, especially if Kenneth Walker doesn't play, force them to try to run the ball. Stop them there. I think this is not only a game where the Patriots can cover, but outright win this game, start 2-0.
Caden, I'm glad you mentioned the fact that they played the Broncos because Denver's defense in that first half was dominant against Seattle. They weren't able to generate offense at all. Of course, the 2 safeties in the second quarter. I definitely agree with you, Caden, that I think the Patriots are a sleeper pick this week to come out and beat the Seahawks, and I think they should cover that handedly.
It should. Like, you look at it, you're like, yes, you would think Geno Smith, like, the Seahawks are the better team. Then you kind of see what happened these last 2 weeks. There's a lot of holes, especially if Kenneth Walker is out for the Seahawks, where the Patriots should be able to exploit them.
Yes, definitely. I think being at home is another great advantage.
Exactly.
Of course, coast to coast. Let's take that into account. The long plane ride
very true.
that's going to take from Washington to get all the way to Foxborough. And of course, first-year head coach Gerard Mayo will now get the opportunity to go against another first-year head coach in Seattle.
And try to get that first home win.
Should be a good game in the morning. Any key points you think, or any key players that stand out to you in this matchup?
For the Patriots, they need Ramondre Stevenson to do what he did last week. Be able to take a workload because that's what we need. We have Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. take the workload and be able to just find your holes, do what you can, take those big gains. If we can get him, I mean, he doesn't need to go for 120 again, but if you have somewhere 70, 80-ish rushing yards, Patriots should be able to win that game. Just really have his back and Jacoby, as long as, just don't turn the ball over. That's all he has to do.
A lot of good elements, Ken. I think that forces are aligned for you to take a victory this Sunday.
Well, going into the afternoon, though, like we mentioned earlier, we got the Steelers coming into Denver to face the Broncos and rookie Bo Nix. The spread right now is at 2.5.
In favor of the Steelers?
In favor of the Steelers.
This game is a rookie quarterback's nightmare, in my opinion. Mike Tomlin, an experienced coach. I'm not sure exactly what the statistics are, but I know Mike Tomlin wins a lot against rookie quarterbacks. With TJ Watt and that defensive front that the Steelers have, I expect this to be an extremely low-scoring game. If the Broncos want to win this football game, Caden, we're going to need to rely on the interior offensive linemen, Quinn Miners, Ben Powers, to generate enough push in the run game for us to be able to run the ball, utilize play action, and definitely not throw 40 times.
No, I'm with you on one thing. I think it's going to be a completely low-scoring game. The over-under here also thinks. The over-under is set at 36.5 this game. I still like the under in this game. This looks like a perfect, the Seahawks are going to win 15-13 or something. Like
Steelers?
Yeah, it's something, just some stupid little low-scoring field goal fest. I think it's kind of going to be like that Steelers-Falcons game from last week.
I would not be surprised to see kind of some reminiscence of that Steelers-Falcons game this week, Caden. But I think if Denver wants to win, they're going to have to help out rookie quarterback Bo Nix. They're going to be able to put him in good situations, and you can't let TJ Watt become a factor.
No, you can't. That's really your biggest factors. If you want Bo Nix to succeed, keep TJ Watt away, as far away from him as you can.
Yeah, I expect to see, and Sean Payton knows that.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about having a veteran coach, is he's going to be aware. They're going to have a tight end. They're going to chip him. They're going to do what they can. They're going to run plays away from him. But ultimately, if TJ Watt makes the plays that he's known and has consistently made over the last couple of years, I think the Steelers will win.
I'm wishy-washy this. I really think it's about a 50-50
it is
on
a
who
very
I think
close game.
can win this game. I could see it going either way. Might as well just depend on if Bo Nix is able to take care of the ball and really just at least move it down. You don't even have to score a bunch of touchdowns. Just be able to move it down the field.
Generate some points. Take advantage of defense. Defense needs to capitalize. And, of course, obviously, we didn't even mention the Steelers' terrible offense.
Oh, another putrid offense right
Going
there.
against, and Broncos' defense looked sound, as we said, before they eventually gassed out against the Seahawks. And then, once again, that was more of an offensive fault. I wouldn't really fault the defense on that.
I would agree with that.
8 straight 3-and-outs kind of does that to a defense.
Oh, yeah.
But, overall, Caden, I think we're looking at a low-scoring affair on Sunday.
It'll be a little field goal putt fest, in my opinion.
Unfortunately, yes. Take us into another game there in that afternoon slate.
More exciting game in this afternoon slate is Joe Burrow and the 0-1 Bengals going into Arrowhead to take on Mahomes and the Chiefs, where the Chiefs are favored by 6.5 points.
Caden, as much as I hate the dirty, no-good, lying, stinking, cheating Kansas City Chiefs, I think this matchup favors them in every way possible. Joe Burrow statistically has been horrible in September. Not only that, they're going on the road in the rocking Arrowhead Stadium, and we know how good the Chiefs have been at home these past few years.
I agree with you 100% here. I think the Chiefs are, especially for this time of year, are a much better team. Joe Burrow, historic slow starter, the Bengals every year, sucked the first 4 weeks of the season.
Yes.
The Chiefs are a really good football team, back-to-back defending Super Bowl champs. Now you add a Spitzer and Xavier Worthy to that offense. You still have Rashee Rice. They're just so good. I think they should be able to cover this 6.5 fairly easily.
Ken, I'm honestly going to be surprised, based on what we saw last week with the Cincinnati Bengals, if they completely do a 180 and come out and play better this week and beat the Chiefs.
I would be surprised.
Ultimately, I just see Kansas City's defense getting to them. Of course, Steve Spagnuolo.
Oh, yeah.
Highest third down blitz percentage in the league. I think they're gonna have what it takes to win fairly easy.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe it'll be close to start.
Start,
but I think it's an easy double-digit point win for the Kansas City.
I would agree with you right there. Perfectly, exactly.
Take us in, Caden, to our next game.
So the next primetime game we got Sunday Night Football is rookie quarterback Caleb Williams going into Houston to face the Texans and C.J. Stroud. The Texans right now are 6.5-point favorites at home. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, Houston being at home, going against their rookie quarterback. We saw the struggles of that Chicago offense a week ago, Caden.
Oh.
Nothing looks like it's changed very much from last season, other than a few numbers and last names on jerseys. And I think this should be a blowout win for the Houston Texans.
Perfectly agree with you. Yeah, the Bears, who scored 0 offensive points last week, and only 1 because they were gifted a little Zach Wilson flip. And now you might be out Rome Odunze. Keenan Allen's on the injury. He's probably going to play, but he's still on the injury report. He's already banged up. The offense is losing players already, and they already weren't good last week. The Texans are a good football team with a great offense. They are going to be able to outscore I think the Bears by a wide margin that, like you said, it shouldn't be close.
You are correct, Kane, and Will Levis, by the way, not Zach Wilson. I do think
same guys.
You obviously know how much I love C.J. Stroud and how high I've been on, and I've been saying. I think did we say it on the podcast?
Probably.
We probably said it on this podcast. I've been saying that C.J. Stroud is the best quarterback in the draft. Dang it, I've been saying it.
You said
I've
that.
been trying to get everyone to listen before his rookie year, but now he is thriving. I expect him to take advantage of his weapons, and I honestly think he should just put on a display, and this should just be
a sound Houston victory.
A sound Houston victory is what I expect.
Exactly.
Well, of course, everyone's favorite game of the week, Monday Night Football. Who is playing on Monday Night Football?
Monday Night Football, Atlanta Falcons at Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles favored by a solid 6.5.
Favored. Based on what we saw a week ago, of course, guys, week 1, obviously, some things are going to happen in week 1 that are never going to happen the rest of the season. Exactly. We know that. It's hard to gauge football, but what I saw, I unfortunately had to watch that Falcons-Steelers game. And from what I saw in that game, Kirk Cousins looked horrible.
Oh, yeah.
If Kirk Cousins doesn't do a 180, if that offense looks as bad as it is, the Philadelphia Eagles should dominate based on what I saw them do against the Packers a week ago, where they were able to consistently score points and out-duel Jordan, and Jalen Hurts was able to out-duel Jordan Love.
Yeah. Yeah, while that Packers offense didn't look, fully compatible last week, they weren't at the full speed. It was still, the Eagles played well enough. They were able to put up a lot of points. Saquon looks amazing.
Yes.
Behind that O-line. They're a match made in heaven together.
100%.
And yeah, Kirk looked like an old man out there coming off an Achilles, trying to play NFL football, and it didn't go too well.
It did not go too well, Caden. And not only that, as you said, another week to jail for that Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. I did think they missed Jason Kelce last week. Of course, we saw some plays with their center. However, I don't think that'll be too much of a story upcoming week. But think about all the weapons that are on that Atlanta D-line, right? Grady Jarrett, Matthew Judon now. The Philadelphia Eagles offensive line will have their hands full and is going to need to play sound football to keep Jalen Hurts upright.
No, agreed. Yeah.
What's the over-under on this game?
The over-under on this game right now is set at...
He's getting the numbers, guys. Don't worry.
47.5.
That is a dangerous line.
That is a dangerous.
I'm staying away from that.
If I were to take something in that, I probably won't. But if I were, I'm leaning more towards the under now.
I would lean towards the under.
I think the Falcons' defense is better than the Packers. They should be able to limit the Eagles' offense to less points.
I agree.
And the Falcons' offense didn't look great last week. The Eagles' defense is they're not great, but they're still pretty good. I think
pieces to have.
Yeah, I do think points will be scored, but I don't think they'll be able to get over that 47.5 on.
Caden, you hit the nail on the head with that one. I think that's all we have to talk for in terms of NFL, which brings us into a perfect segue into the college football segment. Caden, what do you have for us?
We got a lot of big games this week in college football. Most importantly, tomorrow morning, or today, as you're watching this morning,
Saturday,
you have number 6 ranked Missouri going against number 25 ranked Boston College. The spread is now at 14.5. Originally, when this game opened, it was at 16.5. Now the lines jumped down 2 points in Boston College's favor, getting them a little closer. What are your thoughts on this, Max?
Caden, I think that little jump in spread says a good amount about what Bill O'Brien's building with his program in Boston College. I honestly think they're going to keep it relatively competitive. Now, though, with the line, you said 14.5?
14.5 now.
That line is just a little bit less appealing.
16.5 was a beautiful line. I wish I would have got it in back on Wednesday at 16.5 when I first saw it. This is a little wishy-washy now. Yeah.
I agree. But I am still going to go ahead and say that Boston College will cover, although they will not win this football game.
See, I'm still thinking, but Luther Burden, best receiver in college football. Best receiver in college. Right below it.
Travis Hunter.
Right below him, you have Travis Hunter and McMillan.
Travis Hunter.
But then you look at, under Bill O'Brien and this new Boston College offense and coaching staff just team. Tommy Castellanos looks like a real dual threat quarterback now. Being able to run the ball for 150 yards, throw it for another 250, 300 in a game. If he's able to limit his turnovers and do what he's been doing so far throughout this year against Florida State, like a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
They should be able, I agree. They should be able to keep this, I would think, within the 2 scores, within the 2 touchdowns. I don't think if they pull it out in the end. I don't think they're that good of a team. I do think Missouri is the better team.
Of course.
And it is at Missouri, so. But other than that, I do think Boston College should be able to keep this close enough to cover the 14.5, but it's close.
It is, Caden. I mean, this is a game that could be a play or two away from even creating a blowout.
Oh, exactly.
Where it looks like the game
where you need a big backdoor cover.
Exactly, Caden. So a lot of questions within this game coming in based on that spread line if we are discussing that. I do think Missouri obviously are going to be a bigger team, especially looking at those trenches, Caden, which is ultimately the difference. I think Boston College's skill positions are close enough to Missouri's, but when you start looking at the trenches, Caden, that big size and physicality ultimately will be too much for Boston.
Agreed, yeah. Missouri, SEC, ACC, like that's another thing.
It's a difference.
SEC's going to win, like, for the most part.
For sure.
But it's going to be, I think, one of the better matchups we get to see all day today.
Most definitely.
The other big matchup we have, like, in the afternoon slate is one that should be being played a couple months from now. It should be a rivalry game. It's Oregon State. Like, why are we not playing a conference Oregon State game? Why is this a stupid out of conference game that's not gonna, like, it's still gonna mean, so it's not gonna mean as much. I love those games. The line as of now is 16.5 in Oregon's favor. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Caden, we obviously know what the Ducks possess, although they had their slow start to the season. This is a line, Caden, now where you understand rivalry games. You kind of got to throw the lines out the window when it comes to games such as this. That's one of those where I'm kind of a little scared because I would not be surprised if Oregon State came out and was able to give Oregon a run for their money.
So yeah, exactly. I don't think Oregon State wins this game.
I don't think so.
I think they should be able to cover. It's a big rivalry game. They're always playing tight one-score matchups. Oregon State will come out with the win even when they're the worst team. Oregon this year looks like they should be one of the best teams in the country. You watch their offense move down the field, you're like, okay, you're good. And then they can't find the end zone. It's just field goal, just empty possessions. Dylan Gabriel has a bunch of passing yards, a bunch of completions, high percent. No, barely any touchdowns. Like they just haven't been scoring. I think as long as Oregon State can put up a little bit of points, they should be able to keep it within 16.5 the way Oregon's offense has been sucking so far.
Ken, I think you've said everything that was on my mind regarding that football game. Again, one of those that we're just going to have to wait and find out. Speaking of rivalry games, Caden, I think there's a pretty important game going on tonight in our beautiful box state of Colorado.
Oh, is there?
The Rocky Mountain Showdown. Colorado Buffaloes on the road against the CSU Rams in Fort Collins. Caden, what do you think about this game?
So yeah, the spread right now is set as CU by 7.5. It was at 6.5 a couple days ago, moved up to 7. Now it's up to 7.5. I think CU, even though they looked horrid last week against
the first half.
In the first half, they looked horrid. But CSU's an awful team. They're bad.
We saw what Texas was able to do with them, and even the University of Colorado had some success last week.
The University of Northern Colorado held it to 31-14 against supposed to be a decent, like,
I think it ended up being more
but
points
still
scored, but yeah.
Like, CSU's awful. CU, I don't think they're what they showed in that first half against Nebraska.
I don't
they're
think
not
they
an
are.
awful team. I don't think they're a great team. But I do think they should be able to. I know forget about last year's game. I think that was without Travis Hunter.
Yes.
Basically the whole thing. Give me CSU minus 7.5. I'm probably gonna play this up to CU minus 8.5. Try to get a little extra on my vig.
I like that, Caden. Notable out, Dallin Hayden, as per Coach Prime said on his press conference on Tuesday, will be out for this game. So expect to see Micah Welch finally in the lineup, Caden. One of the players I had the chance to speak with at the Colorado Fall Sports Media Day. And I think there's a lot to be excited about with him coming in and finally getting some opportunities this Saturday night, hopefully.
That's good to know.
Yeah, another thing with this Colorado team, we saw I believe it was yesterday or the day before, Colorado State released some interviews that they had with their players, and their players had a lot to say about Colorado. And it seems like Colorado's been on their mind the last year.
After that game?
After that game. You hear a lot from Colorado State fans throughout the offseason. They're always talking, Caden, every year. But
they kept it within one score?
They didn't lose. I've never seen
within one score.
I've never seen a fan base so happy to have just barely lost a football game.
Okay, it's true, as I can say. As a partisan, I'm a Texas fan. He's a CU goer. One of our other friends went to CSU last year. All he was saying in our group chat, he's like, hey, they kept it to one where it's like, you still lost the game.
Still lost the game.
A loss is a loss.
Obviously, CSU's trenches are nowhere near the caliber of Nebraska that Colorado line faced last week. I think the kicking in the butt they received last week should be a rude awakening, and this team should play pretty pissed off going up into Canvas Stadium, kid.
Agreed. CU should, I think this should be a quick little, CU comes in, wins 2 touchdowns-ish.
I like it.
Goes into next week.
I think this will just say a lot about Colorado's season. Knock on wood, if they were to end up falling to Colorado State, I think we could see a lot of turmoil.
If they lose to Colorado State, that's when the season goes downhill quick.
Here comes the snowball, yes.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't see that happening this week,
I don't
Caden.
either.
I think the CU hitters are going to have to wait a little bit later for that down the line before they can start jumping all over Coach Sanders and everyone. But talking about your Longhorns, Caden, give us a rundown on their game this week.
Okay, so Longhorns coming off an ass whooping of Michigan in Ann Arbor. They're going to take on the UTSA Roadrunners. The good old Roadrunners. The Longhorns are favored by 35. I think they should be able to win this game easily, but I'm not going to play anything on this game. I'm scared maybe they could trap game, look over and I think they win, but
because even if you win by 4 touchdowns, that's not covering.
Exactly. 35 is a lot of points, and after you just beat Michigan the week before, they might come out and win.
I'm tired. Yeah.
Oh no, I won 40-7. You didn't cover.
Yeah.
I don't want to play either side because Texas could go win 50-0 like they did against CSU, or it could be 47 or whatever.
All great points, kid. I don't think there's much to say about this game.
Yeah.
Texas is going to dominate. They're going to do what they're going to do. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, Texas looks like they have the caliber football team that's going to compete for a championship this year.
Texas might finally be back, baby.
If you look at the terms of the way they are built within offensive line, the character of the group, the way they rallied, and just the way their coach believes in the players, Caden, I think there is so much to like about this Texas team, and this should be another dominating victory.
And adding Isaiah Bond from the transfer portal from Alabama is huge. He's one of the fastest dudes. He's not Xavier Worthy fast. Yeah. But him and Texas, he just flies, and it's beautiful to watch Quinn throw that ball to him.
Well, Caden, I believe we have one more game to talk about, or is that it?
That is it.
Well, that was it. A lot of football. We got to get through just a tidbit of the games that you're going to see this week. Of course, if there's anything we didn't talk about, if you guys have anything else you would like us to specifically say, let us know for our YouTube people. And if you are on online Spotify listeners, what should they do, Caden?
Make sure you subscribe. Leave a comment about anything, like it. And I just want to put one more thing out as I'm wearing the Tigers hat here. I just want to say, I predicted Tariq Skubal to win the Cy Young back before the season started. He's about to do it. You can ask Evan Dwyer. He knows. And all I know is I hope the Tigers make the postseason. I want to see Scooble in a wild card game.
Well, that's all we have for time for this week. We thank you guys all for listening and tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.